Good afternoon once again, and welcome to our webinar for today entitled The Power of SolarWinds Customization Dashboards. My name is Monjule, and I'm the sales manager here at Prosperon Networks, and I am joined today by my colleague, Raul Gonzalez, technical manager at Prosperon Networks, who will be assisting us with the presentation later on. So before we start, I'd like to run through with you the agenda for this afternoon. So first, we'll be talking about why is it important to monitor, and then Raul will show you some SolarWinds dashboard examples, and this will be followed by a live demonstration, and then we proceed with a topic on custom widgets, SolarWinds Query Language, and also a live demonstration, and then a Q&A at the end. But before we start on that, a few housekeeping items that I would like to cover. First, there would be some poll questions throughout the webinar, so I would encourage you to participate into that one, and also submit your questions and the right questions at the questions panel to your right, and you could actually ask them in real time, but we'll talk about and answer your questions at the end. And lastly, there would be a recording of this session, which will be made available after the live event on our YouTube channel. Just search for Prosperon Networks, as well as a link to the recording will be sent to all attendees who are not able to attend. The other one would be a survey at the end. So please, I would also encourage you to please complete the survey at the end of the presentation. Right, so a little bit of introduction about Prosperon. So for those of you that have joined, focused on helping users improve how they use the Orion monitoring platforms. Our previous sessions have covered topics such as advanced alerting and automation. You will see us taking part in the SolarWinds yearly SWQL camp and has been active contributor of SWQL over the years. Perhaps you could also see our engineers on site with about 400 consultancy days being delivered, or have been engaged with us as one of the nearly 800 support cases that we close each year. Our ideas can be heard using our status as the only UK partner with a SWQL MVP currently, and we are happy to share that our professional services team have recently won the Technical Excellence Award from SolarWinds, a true testament of the level of professionalism and dedication that we provide to customers like you. But today's webinar will focus on how SolarWinds customers can use SWQL, SQL, HTML to create custom dashboard views that will enhance the performance of your SolarWinds platform and increase your monitoring capabilities. But before we proceed, before I handed it over to Raul, the first poll question would be, are you currently using any custom dashboards within your SolarWinds platform? Let's just wait for a few minutes while we're collecting the responses. Cool. So I think, do we have the responses now? So about an outstanding 66% are actually saying yes to the that they're actually using custom dashboards, which is actually a good indication that this webinar will be beneficial to you, as well as on how you would be able to improve on that or utilize more of these technologies. And about less than 40% are saying no. So you still have some opportunities to actually review and look into custom dashboards within your SolarWinds platform. So now I will be handing it over to Raul for the main presentation. So Raul, take it away.
Thank you, Mon. Let me show my screen. So before we start with the live demo that I want to show you guys about these new resources or these existing resources that you guys can use in order to improve the dashboards that you have in SolarWinds, I wanted to take a step back and review why do we monitor. And mainly, I found out that the main reasons why people have tools like SolarWinds in our environment is these three main reasons that you can see now on your screen. To find faults in your network, to improve the way we deliver services, and for capacity plan. When we talk about finding faults, we mainly want to find faults or issues that we have in our network to prevent outages and also to minimize how much time we expend fixing issues. To prevent outages, I mean, this is a clear objective of monitoring. For example, how much money would Amazon lose if the website was down? We have to avoid these situations, but also we have to minimize the mean time to resolution. How much time we spend fixing the issue, how much time we spend finding the root cause of the issue. For these two reasons, normally we use alerting. We like to receive an email when something goes down or when something unexpected occurs on our network. We like to receive an email, and normally the way we use that is use alerting. But if we continue, and in this case we review how to improve the service delivery, we can use other options, as you will see later on, not only alerting, we can use other options. Why do we want to improve our service delivery? Basically, we want to make our network more reliable, also for baselining our network and knowing what is normal and what is not in our network. This is very important. And also by delivering a better performance. How can we do our network more reliable? Well, mainly by avoiding faults. If the redundant power supply of a device goes down, we need to know before the main one goes down. Otherwise, we're going to have a big outage. But also we need to baseline the network. Why? Basically, because to know whether something is normal or is not, we need to know what is normal. And the only way to know that is by monitoring our network and then comparing through the time. And finally, to get a better performance, we need to deliver our network services. We need to make them faster. We make it more reliable. And in order to know if we are improving or not, we need to monitor our services. We need to know how it's going. And based on that, review the trends. How can we improve our service delivery? Basically, we can use alerts. Again, when there is any fault, we can receive an email. But also we need reporting. We need this baselining. We need to compare through time. How can we know? How can we do that? Creating these charts all the time, showing is what is normal, what is not, and any spike and any issue that is happening on the network. And finally, we also monitor for capacity planning purposes. Why? Because we have to manage future demand and growth. We need to utilize our resources more efficiently. Also, we have to future-proof our network. And finally, we also have to be able to create accurate budgets for the forthcoming years. When we talk about demand and growth, we need to know if we are growing, and if we are growing, how much we have to improve our resources to cope with this growth. Also, to minimize the under or overutilization of our resources, this is something that is going to be very important in our systems. For example, if we talk about virtual machines, it is bad to have your VMs overutilized, for example, when you have high CPU. But it's also bad when you have them also underutilized. Why? Because, for example, imagine that you have all your VMs with very low CPU usage. This means that you have allocated resources where you don't need to. Imagine how much money you could save if you were using cloud services, and you could remove all these resources from your VMs in Amazon or in Azure, the amount of money you could save on these resources. Also, we need to future-proof your system. It's not only the now, we also need to prepare our system to cope with future requirements. How do we know what is going to be required? We need to know the trend of the utilization of our resources, whether we are using more or less resources than in the future. And finally, for budgeting, in order to know how much money we will require in the next year's budget, we need to know what we will need for next year. And the only way to know that is by analyzing your future capacity requirements. Mainly for capacity planning, as you can see here, what we do is reporting. We create these baselines and we can create these reports showing us how much we grow and how much we will need in the future. So today we're going to focus on dashboards. Okay, we have another event that we can talk later on that we'll have, I think, on the 22nd of March in London, where we'll talk about, it's going to be mainly focused on alerting. But today, let's talk about dashboards, about this capacity planning, about this baselining. How can we do that? And we're going to talk about the default views that we come with SolarWinds. 34% of you guys have said that you still use the default views, which, in my opinion, are not great. They can do some kind of job, but in order to get the most out of SolarWinds, we have to customize the dashboard that we have there. And we're also going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about how to customize resources, the dashboards, using the default resources, those ones that you don't have to edit as soon as you add them in a dashboard, you can use them. And also what we call the custom XXX widgets. Those ones that need interaction, that need an input from us in order to display data. Those are the ones that we're going to focus later. Also, I wanted to mention that there are other type of resources. These are called custom resources. That these are programmed ASPX resources that you can add in your environment that can show the data in pretty much any way you want. However, this is not going to be part of today's webinar. Today, we're going to focus the dashboards on those resources that you have available out of the box. You don't have to add anything else. Just add the resource that you have available in all your SolarWinds installations and just customize them, executing some queries, get the information that you want. So let me show you here some dashboards. So let's start with some out-of-the-box summary dashboards examples. So this is an example of a default view that you have with SolarWinds. So as soon as you start SolarWinds, you install SolarWinds, you will have the network top 10 resource that will look something like this. I wanted to show this because if you don't customize the dashboards that you have, they will look pretty much like this. Not great here, with some devices with showing not the information that you want, no historical data, just showing information right now. So as we mentioned, this doesn't look great. We need to optimize the dashboards that we want. It can be very easy. I have an example here. This is a dashboard. Actually, let me display it a little bit better. This is a dashboard that it takes less than 1 minute to create. This is the capacity forecast dashboard. This is customized, is adding this resource that we have here in these 4 locations. And this allows us to know which are the future or potential future problems that we will have in our network. You don't have to configure pretty much anything just on these dashboards. You have to select just one of the options that you have here. In one of the boxes, I selected CPU load, and the other is percent memory, in the other disk, and the other interface received and transmitted. And this dashboard will give you a clear idea of your future requirements that you have on your network. So this will be an example of customized dashboard that takes just a little bit of time to configure, very low. Also, I wanted to show you that this is not only for the summary views. It can be for any kind of view or dashboard that you have in SolarWinds. For example, I'm going to go to the Orion demo, and this is going to be the default no details views that is displayed when you go to a Windows device. As I mentioned, this is the default view. Again, not great. It's not highlighting the important information that we have for a Windows server. If someone tells me that I have an issue on a Windows server, the main thing I'm going to review is, first of all, if it's up and running. I can see that here, which is good. But I'm going to see also CPU. How is the CPU? And here, I guess, yeah, you can see it here, but it's not quite clear where the information is. Also, I want to see the disks, because you know that you have an issue with the server, mainly it's because the disk is full. I would like to see this here now. And it's difficult. I'm not sure if this information is here. I'm not sure if the information is here. It's not ideal, this dashboard. And the same for applications. I would like to see the application, if my services are running, if my processes are running. Here, again, is not easy to see. That's why here I'm going to show you an example of a dashboard and no details views for Windows servers where this dashboard has been optimized. As you can see here, status of the device, you can see green, up and running, is perfect. You can see historical data here. So I have a quite clear indication of how the application or how the server was going. CPU, I can see here, I can see CPU data, historical data, right now information, memory information is quite clear, the situation right now. In terms of disks, again, I have here information of how the situation are with this. And actually, if you scroll here, you can see that you have a specific section for that. And also in terms of applications, again, you have a clear idea of how the situation. So again, this view takes less than 5 minutes to create and will improve a lot the way you display information, in this case from Windows devices, but you can do it from any kind of device. Just make sure you understand which are the main metrics that you have to monitor for each of these devices. If we talk about Windows servers, we talk about availability, obviously, but also CPU, we talk about disk, we talk about application, services. If we are talking about a router, we are talking about interface traffic, we are talking about errors, discards, we are talking about routing neighbors. If we're talking about the switch, we're talking about VLANs as well, interface traffic, port channel status. So as you can see, different devices will require different type of dashboards. And that's what we have to customize, as you can see here. Good. Let me go back to the slides. So that has been great, but what I show you today, or at least until now, is mainly something that you don't need any kind of scripting skills, no kind of skills at all required. It's something that just drag and drops, add the boxes that you want on the node details or in the summary view, and you will be able to create exactly the same views I just created, that I showed you just now. But we have more. We have other resources that you can see here that will be able to get a real in-depth view of what's going on in your devices, in your servers, in your applications, or in basically any summary view that you have. And this is what we call the custom XXX widgets. We're talking about these 5 that you can see here: custom table, custom chart, custom tile, custom HTML, custom query, because are the ones that we're going to use the most. Let's start with custom table. Custom table, that is the one that you can see here, is a very simple resource that will allow you to show different columns of data for a specific set of objects. It's basically a normal table, as you can see here. But as you will see in a second, it is very, very powerful. This resource allows you to be configured using the graphical interface, using the drag and drop option, as you will see later, but also allows you to use SQL or SWQL queries. And we'll talk about that in a second more. We also have custom chart, the second one here. Custom chart shows you the historical data for a specific metric. You can display more than one metric on the same chart. For example, you can display CPU and memory utilization, but normally I recommend to display just one single type of data. The chart, again, can be configured using the default graphical interface, or again, using SQL or SQL queries. Then we go with something called custom tile, that I guess that is a bit more unknown for you guys. This custom tile resource will allow you to show, first of all, the status, the number of objects in a specific status, like up, down, warning, or critical, and also the number of alerts that those objects are triggering. Again, this resource can be configured, as I will show in a second, using the graphical interface or using SWQL. In this case, this resource doesn't allow SQL. And finally, let's go to the 2 resources that personally I like the most. First of all will be custom HTML. This is by far the most flexible resource that we use in SolarWinds, and lately we are started using it a lot. But it's one of the ones that needs more skills, because basically what we're going to do is use HTML scripts, HTML code using JavaScript or using any other kind of programming language in order to display data from our SolarWinds server. And also we have custom query that is also very, very useful. It's similar to the custom table, but has some extra features, like has the option to add unlimited icons, unlimited links. But the thing that makes it very special is that has the search functionality. You can search within the same resource. Good. So let's talk a little bit more about SWQL. We talked before about some resources that have the option, these 5 resources, that can be configured using the graphical interface, but also can be configured using some of them SQL, but all of them using SWQL. What is SWQL? SWQL is what we call the SolarWinds Query Language, and it's very similar to SQL. That's why we say that if you know SQL, you know how to create SQL queries, you will know how to create SWQL queries, because it's exactly the same syntax. SWQL owns its SolarWinds data access language. It means that these SWQL queries are not executed against the database directly, are executed against the SolarWinds information service, that it looks like is one step more to the process, but actually it makes it faster, because it accesses cache data, making the whole process much faster than it using SQL. Also, another one of the features that we have here is that it applies limitation, meaning that if you have any any account limitation or any view limitation, those limitations will be applied where you have the custom SQL code applied. Also has other features like allows pagination, so it means rows per page. But another of the main features that we're going to use here is the navigation property. It requires less joins because have these navigation properties, meaning that we can script, we can create the queries much faster than if we were using a normal SQL. Good. So now let me go back to my demo and let's review these five resources more in depth. Let's start with custom tile. As I mentioned before, custom tile is this resource that will show you here the status of your objects and the alerts that those objects are triggering. This resource, as I will show you right now, can be configured using the graphical interface, so you don't require any kind of coding. For example, I want to display in all these groups, I want to display node status for all the nodes that are part of these groups, and you will see that this will display data, as you can see as before. But if we want, we can make a filter much more advanced. As you can see here, using advanced SWQL filter, basically, in this case, it's really simple. Show me all the nodes with no where clause, meaning that we are not creating any filter. Here we define, once we have created this resource, when you click in one of these options, where do you go? And here you define the alerts that are being displayed. Because if you want, you can also limit some specific alerts, only alerts that are critical or alerts that are serious or for devices that are from a specific location. Okay. So it's to show you when you click on this icon, this will bring you to a specific view where you show you all the devices that are matching that condition. This is a good idea. I don't really use it too much, but as you can see, it's one of the options that you have available in your environment. Let's go with custom table. This is more interesting. Again, this resource can be configured using the graphical interface. If you select that dynamic query builder, you can create a filter here, show me only nodes where vendor is equal to Cisco, things like that. That'd be fine. But this is not what we are here to show you. We are here to show you the advanced options. So as you can see, in this case, we're using SQL. We're not using SWQL. But what we're doing is checking the last time we patch one server. What we do here is doing something called CTS in SQL, and this will allow us to get the last time, we do here the number first, the last time we patch this device. Thanks to this, we have created this resource that shows you all the servers, the last time we patched, and how many days was the last patch. Later on, we will see more examples about this. Let's go with custom chart. Custom chart is similar to custom table. So again, we can use the graphical interface, but we're not here to show that. We are here to show you complex or more advanced resources. And here, as you can see, with a very, very simple query, we can know how many devices per day have gone down. Okay, so what we're doing is counting all the different devices during one day that at least has been 100% down. We do that, we make it nice, we show here between this time to which time we want to do it. It means that we select it from here. And something very simple, like this one, will show you the number of devices that each day has gone down. Here today, we have one device down only. Yesterday, we had two, and you can see the rest. This is very simple. Later on, we'll see that it's also very, very powerful. Let's go with more complicated stuff. Let's go to custom query. Custom query, as you can see, is similar to custom table, where the difference is that here in custom table, you can only create one link. Here you can create links for all the options that you have here. and also that you have the search functionality. So for example, here I search for SQL, will show me only the devices where name contains SQL. How does it work? It's not too difficult. Let me show you. First of all, here we can select the fields that you want to display, and you put to the name a specific, so you put to the column a specific name. If you want to add an icon to that column, you have to create another value that will give you the icon with this format. This is the name of that column, icon for, and the name of the other column. The same for links. If you want to add a hyperlink, you have to add this, and then the name of the column. By the way, this is case sensitive. Is this contains capital N, you have to put also here capital N. With these options, as you can see, we're allowed to display these icons here, these icons here, these icons here, and also these links here. So if I click here, it will redirect me to the node details of this device. But also we have this option here that is search. What is that? Well, is this all query here that is pretty much the same, but what we do is we add an additional where clause. And in this where clause, we use this search string. This is what we're gonna add. Well, this is basically the string that we search for. And as you can see, we are searching for the caption and also for the IP address. This means that even though we are not displaying here the IP address of the device, I think here this will show me all the devices where the IP address contains something like this. So you can see very, very powerful, as you will see later. And finally, one of the resources that is more flexible, but probably is more complicated to configure, is the custom HTML. Here, what we're doing is getting a resource from Google. There is something called Google Charts that allows us to use some of the resources from them. We get the information from our SolarWinds installation, we put it together, and this shows us the number of devices that are up. You can see 28 devices are up, 93.3%. In this case, warning, and they are down. To show you the script, this is basically HTML script. What we do is display this resource, and this resource is a chart that we get from Google getting this information. This is a SWQL query. We're getting the information from the SolarWinds API. Once we have the information from the SolarWinds API, getting the number of devices, the status, the color, and so on, we create here some information to display this resource, and we display it here. So these are the 5 resources that we're gonna work today with. Let's have a look at real views, production views that you can create with these resources. Let's start with this one. This is a custom query. This custom query shows you all the devices that you have in your environment, in this case, the vendor as well, location, and whether these metrics are being monitored. This is very important because sometimes we add a new device, we forget to assign custom pollers, we forget to assign some metrics because maybe we were monitoring this device using ping, now we monitor the device using SMP. It can happen that we forget to assign metrics to these devices. How can we make sure that these devices have all the metrics assigned? Creating a resource like this one. Here you can search, I want to see all my SQL servers what we are monitoring, and it will tell you that on all the SQL servers, we are monitoring CPU and memory, but we are not monitoring flash, not wireless, no reverb metrics, no firewall information, no spanning tree, no hardware health information, and we are monitoring this number of interfaces and this number of volumes. As you can see, this search functionality is very powerful, and also the option to see what is being monitored and what is not. Also, by the way, from here, you can order, so you can see everywhere where spanning tree is monitoring, or everywhere where wireless is monitoring, or which is the device where we're monitoring the most of the interfaces. You can see this one, a switch, we're monitoring 21 interfaces. How do we do that here? As you can see, we create a SWQL script where we get the name of the device, we add this icon that shows the status, we add this link, which shows us the link, the URL, And then we ask if the CPU, we have a value for CPU, it means yes. If we don't have a value for the CPU, it means no. And we add an icon. And the same for the rest of the custom polars, interfaces, metrics, anything we do. And obviously we add here the same query, but let me remove this, but with the where clause, where we can search, in this case, by the name of the device. But as you can see, adding this option, and let me copy this, now this will allow us to search also using the IP address of the device. Very simple. This can be done for nodes, but also can be done for applications. Which applications are we monitoring in our devices? Are we monitoring SQL in our SQL servers? Well, let's have a look. Type here SQL, and I can see that here, actually only in one of these servers, we are monitoring SQL. On the other two, we are not monitoring SQL. Whereas here, actually, we're monitoring Windows services. On this one, we are not monitoring Windows services. Again, the script is very simple as well. We check if that node ID is part of this or contains this application name. Very simple. Okay. So this is two examples of custom queries that are very easy to configure, but they will help you a lot to know what you are monitoring and if you forgot to monitor something on your network. Let's review. Let's go with custom charts. Okay. So for example, this is the alert analysis dashboard. This shows you the amount of alerts triggered per node, per alert definition, or per application for each day for the last 30 days. What we do here is we use, I think it's SQL, in this case SQL, to get the total number of alerts being triggered per day, in this case per node. As you can see, very simple, it's not a really long SQL query that will give us this information. Also here, we have created a couple of custom queries that are very useful that allows us to know, first of all, if any of the action has failed. As you can see, these are all the alerts triggered, and has seen that you can see that some of them has failed and the last one was triggered. And here you have the most common alerts. So for the last 30 days, this alert on this device has been triggered, well, you can see here, around 6,000 times. So yeah, this is a real problem that we have here. More examples. In this case, we're going to show you a custom query and a custom HTML resource. This query is the one that we've seen before, exactly the same. Shows you, actually this is a custom table, sorry. Shows you the devices and the last time we applied a patch. And also here, using custom HTML, show us the amount of devices patched on a specific month. So you can see that 77% of our devices were patched in February. We have a few of them, one in December, another one in May. To show you, again, this is using this resource. It's exactly the same as before, to be honest. The only thing that changes is this, is the query we use to extract the data. Let's review capacity forecast, capacity analysis. Well, first of all, let's talk about availability. This is another example. Let me go here. This is a custom HTML. This is a custom HTML, and this is a custom chart. Here is very simple. This shows you the status of all the devices that you have on the network. We have one device that is down, one device that is warning, 28 that are up. Again, it's similar to before. In this case, we are not using any Google resource. We are using purely HTML code. Basically, what we're doing is displaying this query, sorry, this resource, and this resource, what it displays is the status of all our devices. This resource is purely HTML. We don't need Google. We don't need internet connection. This will work in all the installations that we have in SolarWinds. The same for this one. What we're doing is checking the overall capacity, availability of the devices. This is today. This is yesterday, 7 days ago, 30 days ago. And this is showing you the status right now compared with last hour. This means that the availability is going up. It means that our availability is growing. And actually you can see here that it's true. It was down and now it's going up. Okay. How can we do these things? Well, the thing is that this is HTML code. So we can use any icon, any image, anything, any resource that you have. As soon as you copy this and you have these resources, these images in your SolarWinds INPAP folder, you will be able to call them and you will be able to display them. Okay. As you can see, this resource is a bit more complex, but because what we do is we compare results. If the results, so if the capacity, if the availability is going up, show the green animated arrow. If it goes down, show the red animated arrow. If it's the same, show the yellow equal, saying that it's exactly the same. Very simple, very visual image that will show you the status. And finally, here we have a custom chart with a very simple SWQL query. Basically, what we do is show me the average of the availability group by hour. If we do that, you will see here the overall availability of your devices per hour. Let's talk about capacity. This is a custom query, this is a custom chart, and this is a custom query. These resources are very, very useful. This shows you the total amount of CPU time consumed in minutes per hour for the last, in this case, 30 days. So what we do is we calculate how much time a server or device is using CPU per hour, and we sum that value to all the devices that we have. So in total, you can see that the total number is not really important. 50 minutes, 75 minutes per hour is not really important. What is really important is the trend. As you can see, this gray line in the middle is going up, meaning that every time we use more CPU. This other resource is also very important. This shows you the total amount of time these devices have had the CPU over 50%. And this case is for the last month. So this device in last month, that was February, spent 5.5 days with the CPU over 50%. So you can see this can be kind of problematic. Let's review something similar for interfaces. And actually, this is a quite common requirement that lots of people have. First of all, we have here a custom chart, again, that shows you the total minutes per day that interfaces that we're monitoring are over. In this case, I had to use 15% because if we put 75% in our network, there is pretty much nothing. We have a really small network. So I had to change the threshold to 15. But as you can see, to change the threshold to 75, for example, it would be as easy as change this for 75 and 75. Okay, but in this case, we have 15 because otherwise we wouldn't have data. Anyway, going back here, this shows you the amount of time the interfaces spend over 15%. Again, you can see the trend is going up. It means that every time we're using more internet connection, interface connection. And here you have the amount of time these interfaces spend over 15%. Imagine that this is 75%. You could see how much time this interface in the last month has spent over 75%. In this case, would be 1.6 days. For capacity planning, imagine that here is not all interfaces. You can create a filter to show only one interfaces. Imagine how valuable this information would be for you guys to see the amount of time an interface, one interface, is over 75% utilization. And this is purely using custom queries. What I do here is calculate the amount of time. It's very simple. These other metrics is to make it nice, to show the links, to show day, hour, or minute. But mainly what we're doing is here, calculating how much time an interface is over this threshold. Also, something really interesting that we have here is user traffic. We were talking before about baseline, what is normal, what is not. Imagine that you go to your network and you see that every day at 1, there is a lot of traffic. What's going on? What happened at 1 a.m.? Well, as you can see here, this resource, this is a custom chart, shows us the usual traffic per hour per day. So actually you can see here that on Sundays, it's quite common to have a spike of traffic. Why? Because probably at 1 a.m. is when we take backups and we send it to our cloud provider. Also, you can see here that we have another spike on Sundays, and every day at 9 is probably when we do our internal backups. How can you know this? How can you know what is normal in your network if you don't have a resource like this one? This is very simple. This is using SQL or SWQL, in this case SWQL, where we get the date, and basically we sum the traffic generated for each interface. By the way, this is something that you don't need only to be displayed on a summary view. If you go to any of these interfaces, for example, let's go to this one. This is something that you can create also at the interface details level. This is the common interface details views that you all guys have. We have added also these resources that shows you the average traffic on a normal Tuesday, because today is Tuesday, and the current traffic. So you can see today, and the average traffic is pretty similar. And also shows you the average traffic for each day of the week to know what is normal on this interface. Okay. Again, this is using SQL or can be also using SWQL, so you can get this kind of information. Good. Going back, also to show you that this is possible with volumes. This resource takes some time to load, so I will start with this other. This shows you the total spare capacity in your environment. So basically gets every single volume that we are monitoring in SolarWinds, gets the spare capacity, that capacity is not being used, and puts it together. So you can see in our environment, every day we have more space. So at some point we want to make our volumes smaller, we have to renew our storage online, we can see that we don't need so much space because every day we are using less. And this other resource is also very interesting. This is also another custom chart that shows the number of volumes reaching this percentage, 100%, 99, 95, and 90, each day. So I can see that today or yesterday, we had 2 volumes that reached 100%, 1 volume that reached 95, and 2 volumes that reached 90. And you can see how this evolves over time. Okay, so actually I can see that every day we have 2 or 3 volumes that reach 100%. So this is a real problem. We should review which ones they are and try to fix the issue. Finally, on this view, I want to show you that this is also possible at the application level. All these metrics that we have checked until now are pretty much NPM metrics, but the other metrics for other modules are also possible. In this case, we have application status similar to the one that we've seen from nodes. In this case, our application status is going down. Here we have a chart with the application availability. And here we have another resource that it takes some time to load that will show you every time we poll the status of this application. Good. Actually, this session was mainly focused on dashboards, but I wanted to show you something before that this can be also used for alerting. As we mentioned before, we have an event, the 22nd of March in London, where we're going to be focused 100% alerts. Just a sneak peek of that. Imagine that we have this. Let's go to interfaces, where we see what is the average of user interface traffic. It would be good if we could do something similar at the alert level. For example, I have here some alerts that alerts us when something unusual high traffic on the overall network, unusual high traffic on a specific interface, or unusual high CPU utilization happens on a device. For example, in this one, what we do, this is something that we'll show you on the event, but just to show you that it's the same simple principle. Using SWQL, we can create an alert that basically what it does is gets the average CPU usage of a device each day of the week, compare it with today, and if the value is 50% higher and is over the threshold that we have defined, then we will trigger the alert. As you can see, this is extremely amazing because if you know that we receive alerts every time the same alert, the same device triggering the same alert our CPU, because every day at this time of the day is taking backups and the CPU will hide, with this alert, those alerts will disappear because this checks what is normal and what is not, and then triggers the alert depending on that. So just to finish about it, guys, all this information that you have seen or some of these resources that you have here, you can find them online. If you go to our website, oops, sorry. Now, if you go to the blog section, you will find some of the resources, some of the scripts that we have talked today. So if you want to try these resources in your environment, you have here a couple of the blogs that we have used today. You will be able to follow the steps, grab the code, and create the similar resources in your environment. For example, here you have the one for CPU usage or the one for interface usage. And here you have also for the user traffic interface. And yeah, this is the ones that we have. Okay. So please visit our blogs because we keep them updated. We keep them with really cool information that you can get for free. You don't have to pay anything. You just come here and grab the code. In case that you want to do something different, you are really interested in this kind of approach to display the dashboards, just let us know. We're really happy to jump into a call with you and check if what you need is required.
All right. Thank you so much, Raul, for that one. So I think we have, if you can just make me as a presenter, we have another poll question here. So from what you have seen today, would you use custom dashboards to improve your monitoring capabilities? So because I can't see the results now. Let me just wait for a few minutes, a few seconds, sorry. An outstanding 98% have said yes to actually be using custom dashboards to improve their monitoring capabilities, which we were very, very pleased to be seeing that. And, you know, it's not just about us working with you in implementing this custom dashboards, but more for us is actually you seeing the benefits of having custom dashboards to improve your monitoring capabilities. So we now proceed to the next phase, which is actually the Q&A. So there has been some questions that has been raised here, Raul. So the first one would be, does it use jQuery?
It can be used jQuery, yeah, exactly. So the way to get information from the SolarWinds API can be used jQuery, can be used in any other language as well. But yeah, in this case, the ones that we have shown you is using jQuery along with HTML code. I understand that this is something that maybe is going to put off some of you guys because you are not so familiar with HTML. I was not familiar with HTML. Just getting one sample, one template of what you can do, and just modifying the SWQL query, you will be able to create to get a lot of cool stuff. So don't be scared of this feature. Just try to play a little bit with that, and then you will see that you cannot break anything because what we're just doing is reading data. Just play with it. Let us know you have any requirement, any question. We can try to help, and it will improve a lot the resources, the dashboards that you have.
Thanks, Raul. Another question here is about the recording. So as I've mentioned earlier, a copy of the recording will be sent to those who have attended this session, as well as it will be published in our YouTube channel. Just search for Prosperon Networks, and then you can find a recording of this webinar. So the other question would be, which I think you've answered earlier, Raul, during your session, would be, will you be providing the custom SWQL queries so we can adopt these and adapt them as required as well?
Yes, I mentioned you guys have it available in our blogs. Just have a look at our blogs and you'll find a lot of SQL queries that you can use in your own environments.
Sure. Thank you so much. So I think those are the questions that have been raised. But of course, if you have some questions along the way and if you feel that you need some assistance from us, please feel free to let us know. Okay.
I just can see one more question. Sorry, Mon. The saying,
Oh, sorry.
which is the preferred way to create these dashboards, SQL or SQL? Some of the
Okay.
resources will only allow SWQL. In that case, there is no question, you have to use SWQL. In case that you have both, it depends which one you feel more comfortable with. For example, for me, I feel more comfortable with SWQL because it has some benefits, like for example, the navigation properties or have some other functionalities that were really cool. That's why I prefer SWQL. But if you don't feel so comfortable with SWQL, you could use SQL as well. And actually, sometimes we have to do it because SWQL doesn't have all the functionality that SQL. But in terms of preferred, it's up to you. I prefer SWQL. Probably some of my other colleagues will prefer SQL.
Sure. All right. Thank you so much for that, Raul. So before we proceed with the next phases of our, before we end this webinar for today, just a quick one on Prosperon SolarWinds Professional Services. Of course, a lot of you would know, but for those of you who are not aware, so we are the leading UK authority in deploying, tuning, and training users of SolarWinds products. So based from what you're seeing on your screen right now, if you feel like you need some assistance or you want to engage with a partner like Prosperon to assist you on these areas, please feel free to let us know. You can get in touch with your account managers, or if you don't have an account manager, so please email us at marketing@prosperon.co.uk or sales@prosperon.co.uk. As Raul has mentioned as well, we do have an upcoming event in London this on the 22nd of March. It's called the SolarWinds Alerting Workshop. This is actually a free event, so seats are limited. So I would encourage you, if you're interested to join, to please visit the link below. Alternatively, you could contact your account managers on or email us at sales@prosperon.co.uk or marketing@prosperon.co.uk for more details about this event. And there are also some useful links that has been provided on the screen. But as Raul has shared with you, you could always visit our website. We do regularly update the content of our website and also our YouTube channel. So please feel free to visit us. And if you have any further questions, just drop us a chat, a note, and we will be very happy to assist you. So that's actually the end of our webinar for today. I hope and I'm confident that you have learned a lot here with regard to utilizing your SolarWinds to create some custom dashboards to improve your monitoring capabilities. I do hope to see you again in our next series of webinars, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much, Raul, for your time as well. All right. Thank you so much, and we look forward to meeting you again. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.